This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. So one of the things I constantly do is I've become addicted to these Twitter polls where I'll raise a question. Often it's something on my mind, and I don't want to be too vulnerable here or too weak or too anything. But the question we raised yesterday that we did a poll on is what do you do when you can't find your motivation, you're a little bit down, stuff like that. And I got a tremendous amount of great responses. One person said massive amounts of caffeine and a good night's sleep. And again, and the person went on to say, some days are just going to be bad days and life goes on and you deal with it. And I think that's right on. Another person said, and there are a lot of these, prayer, meditation, high interval intensity training, even when I don't want to do it. So I love that response as well. Again, the massive amount of caffeine I go with all the time. Another person said creatine and work through it at the gym. More and more people seem to be crazy about this creatine thing, and at some point we'll have to try that out and see if that's really as good as people say it is, creatine. A couple other suggestions, and I love these. Music, walk, call someone in your inner circle. It's almost phone a friend, and I think that's right on. Certainly do that a lot. A couple more people said 30-minute power nap, 30-minute power walk. I think, again, great ideas. Dr. Pescatori said nothing better than a nap. Couldn't agree with that more. Dr. Freitz said, I go for a run. I think that's also a fantastic day. So many different options of what do you do when you're when you're doing poorly, when you feel down, stuff like that. And I think everybody has these days. I certainly have them. A couple more responses I got. Some of these are my basics: hydration, breathing, walking, jujitsu, drink a glass of water. So many great ideas. Somebody else says, I spend all day working outside till I exhaust myself mentally and physically. And I think that's great as well. So maybe I'm able to get a good night's sleep too. I find the regular things I do, I go back to drinking X amount of water a day, doing X amount of steps a day. I go back to making myself more busy than not busy. I'm healthier when I'm busy than not. I will periodically, of course, talk to a therapist. If I'm really anxious, I'll take the anxiety drug that I take periodically, et cetera, et cetera. But I love this topic. I find it very real. I find it encouraging to talk through some of these issues of what do you do when you're feeling down. I know this might be a little bit too self-disclosure, but it's really just to get ideas for other people, for my close friends, not for me. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. If you got a suggestion or an idea on what you do when you're feeling down, feel free to text Scott Becker, 773-766-5322. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast.